We've all heard about the Great Reset, and if you inquire about it, it all depends on how you so-called a great read. What's so great about it? I can't tell. It seems to me that it's a reset organised from above to suit someone's agenda that is not actually explaining things fully and totally what the outcome of that agenda is. We've even heard on YouTube, we can watch it on YouTube, people expressing ideas about changing the organics of human beings to improve them. Now, it's their version of improving a human being, but it's only a version of improving a human being. What a human being is up to the individual, really, or the cultural thing, or how you feel about yourself as an individual human, how you improve yourself or you degenerate according to your behaviour. Yes, they're going to manipulate your DNA, and you can do, I suppose, it's already there in ways so can stop you getting cancer and all, sort of help you live longer, or if you can afford it to live longer, or if you go and comply with the orders of the organisation who's involved this great reset and this agenda. But imagine all the big effort in the world about climate change, all the noise, all the politics, the media, the time taken up by the media about climate change, about the society and economics is enormous. The effort put in on that behalf is enormous. Imagine, if you would, imagine if they put the same effort in regards to one's own individual health and one's own individual obligation towards one's own health. Imagine if they'd done that for the last 20 years. As well, at the same time, in the parallel, about all the effort they've put in about climate change and equal rights and everything else, if they'd focused so heavily on getting your health, really, really looking after your health, actually explaining what is the best way you can have the healthiest outcome. You can also, of course, everyone can find that, but if the governments had gone out and done this with such as much media coverage, political coverage, as they have with climate change and all other causes in this PC theme of the PC, if you like, the political correct theme. If political correctness had said your health is wealth, get as healthy as you can, especially before you have a baby, especially before you make a baby, and then you set an example to your babies how to be healthy, how to eat healthy, etc., and you pass good social skills on to your babies, your children, politeness, good manners. You don't really have to tell about equality then, because they're naturally polite to people. So therefore, they will treat everyone equally, regardless of who they are. It will come naturally to them. It'll be normal for them. And so we'll keep him as healthy as possible. And this way, this is a social, sustainable, social, economic means of achieving the same ends, of improving the global environment, as it is any other way pushed by anyone else who may have the idea that using technology and interfacing totally humanity with technology somehow ends up an environmental improvement. Well, it's not, if it depends on how you view humans as a natural occurring, evolving organic being. And we know how to improve any species, because you can improve horses and cattle and everything else by breeding in traits or getting them to be healthy and breeding in traits what improves their breeds. this can happen in humans. And of course, some humans are selective and breed amongst themselves and improve their breed. If that was the aim, I'm not saying there should be prohibitions who can have babies or who can have children, but nonetheless, if the powers that be, the governments, especially in the West, which is just a burning health problem, the massive overburden of health problems in the West, it's really something that it's hard to come to terms with for governments, because they've got to finance all. They've got to find the money to finance all these health regimes, what looks after people who ought to. If the government's put a lot more effort into pushing health is wealth as an agenda, then the costs of the health bill by now, so it started 20 years ago when they started the climate change agenda, that by now society would be a lot healthier, naturally, by its own efforts. So why in this push for environmental sustainability, we have to ask ourselves that the health of people hasn't been promoted as much as all the other causes. If sustainability and organic sustainability, the organic sustainability of the natural organic cycle, or the greening of the earth, surely humans also are part of the greening. If humans are excluded from the greening, what, we're not inorganic, are they? Or what is it? How are humans viewed in the way that they're not part of the greening, not part of the improving the environmental outcomes of planet Earth? Humans have to be included, and health is wealth. And because they haven't done that, they all delayed it, or they haven't pushed that for whatever reason, corporate profits, failure of governments, whatever it is, that shows that there's a very, very narrow view in the world amongst these so-called, whoever they are, just born the way they are. No one's blaming them really, because people are born and nurtured to be what they are. And what are they fed into by their parents or their past will affect how they think about the future and about them in relationship to the world. And maybe they have no organic relationship with the world, means they do not see humans as part of the organic world, but something maybe to be manipulated for corporate and political outcomes. But that they, from their view, might be sustainable from some profit perspective, but from a natural organic perspective, it is an environmental disaster. If possibly, by interfering with the DNA of humans and interfacing it by machine, if that becomes like compulsory, if that becomes how it has to be. So I think there needs a conversation in this planet about what is sustainable, what is society, what are organics, what is a better outcome for planet Earth. Totally interface with the machine, so you are no longer a totally organic being with self-will, self-regulated will, with your own obligation to look after your own health, feed yourself well, and behave in manners in ways that's appropriate for a convivial or a society that cooperates amongst itself quite happily, or a society that is organised to behave in a compliant manner to suit some people who don't quite understand or say words like sustainability, organics, and all this sort of stuff, better environment, and then don't seem to understand one of those, the meaning of that word, or they've got a purely corporate or political meaning on those words. So, one man's meat is another man's poison. And it seems to me all those pushing the climate change agenda, and it goes along with the COVID thing as well, if they'd push health is wealth, and for the last 20 years or longer, and put health as your number one thing, for yourself, because that's your own health, is your own wealth. Let's face it, as you get older, we all get older, uglier and seedier or whatever. But the longer and more effort you put into your health, well, the aging thing isn't such a problem as as we think it is when we're younger. We lose our sort of charms and what have you as we get older. But the health itself, we really put some effort into that, isn't such a problem. And that is what's missing in all of this, the politics of today, the corporate agenda, is missing what is naturally sustainable within the human system itself, with the human species, is encouraging it throughout the world, wherever it's possible, to become as healthy as it can, because health is wealth. And this is then, you end up with by thinking like this evolution in thinking, you end up with a more sustainable outcome for the world, because health is wealth has all sorts of connotations when you start looking at what organics really mean. What sustainable organics, biodiversity really means, other than a corporate definition or a political definition by people have never really discussed it between them, or if they have, they've failed to understand it or cannot actually put out the message such as this to change the thinking amongst young people, especially in regards to their own sustainable health, their own organic sustainability, which then in the long run is better for the economy, better for the environment, because we're reducing the amount of consumption and also improving the human being as a species at the same time. And I think that's a better reset than anything I've heard from anyone else.